Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Payne. I'm the president of Minneapolis City Council. And before we convene our meeting, we have two presentations. First up, I will invite Councilmember Jenkins and Arts and Cultural Affairs Department Director Ben Johnson to give a presentation introducing the city's new poet laureate.
It's on. Yes. Morning. Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. If there are folks who are here to congratulate Janata Presley, why don't you guys come on up here? Come on up. This is a celebration, not an observation. So, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Andrea Jenkins, and I am the 8th Ward City Council member, and I am so deeply honored to be speaking in front of you all today. I'm pleased to introduce today's very special occasion, which is the naming of our brand new poet laureate for the city of Minneapolis, and that is Janata Petrus. So I just want to say a few words about our Poet Laureate program. As a fellow poet, I am thrilled to see this program come to fruition. It has been a dream of mine and so many other members of our community to make this happen for a very, very, very long time. And so I just want to say thank you to the Arts and Cultures Affairs team, led by Ben Johnson. Thank you to the Loft Literary Center. I'm sure that's probably somewhere below in my remarks, but I want to just make sure that I say that up front. I also want to thank the leadership of the Minneapolis Arts Commission and call out the chair, Lucy Thompson, the vice chair, Lana Alsworth, and Mandy Bedbury. And give a big thank you once again to the Loft Literary Center for administering this program, and special thanks to the director and my dear, dear friends, Arleta Little and G.E. Patterson. This program has raised the spirit and the connectivity of our community, and I could not be more thrilled to see Janata Petrus receive this award. She is the official poet laureate for the city of Minneapolis. It's such an honor to have you here in our presence, and we thank you for your talent, your artistry, your gift of language, your engagement that you will conduct over the next 2 years. And I got stumbled because I'm just thinking about your book, Give It to the Grandmothers. Mm-hmm. What appropriate poet laureate for us to have for this city at this time. I've been such an admirer of your work, your art, your contributions to our city and to this community for a very long time, and this recognition is truly well deserved. I would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge and thank our inaugural Poet Laureate, Hyde E. Erdrich, for all that she accomplished last year. This program has been a true gift to the community, and I have been witness, thank you, to that work that Hyde accomplished in connecting with and amplifying the Native communities, connecting with folks throughout the state, and for bringing our Minneapolis community together. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ben Johnson.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. And good morning, Council President Payne and City Council. I'm Ben Johnson, the Director of Arts and Cultural Affairs for the City of Minneapolis, and it's my extreme pleasure to introduce our nomination for the next Poet Laureate, who will serve a 2-year term for 2025 and 2026. Before Mayor Fry makes the announcement, we wanted to acknowledge all of the council and community members who have advocated for this program to come to fruition. It is now one of the signature programs within the Department of Arts and Cultural Affairs. I would like to applaud the leadership of the Minneapolis Arts Commission and our partner, the Loft Literary Arts Center, and the ACA staff who are deeply involved with the outcomes. Our inaugural Poet Laureate from last year, Hyde E. Erdrich, set the standard for all future Poet Laureates to demonstrate the power and possibility of this position to bring our community together. Through our relationship with the Loft, the Poet Laureate is selected through a panel process, and the ultimate poet will be a symbol of the best in the arts of our community. Hyde was certainly able to do that on our behalf. Among the many meaningful events in the past year, she produced over 30 public activities and worked with hundreds of poets, writers, and enthusiasts. Because of her work with Minneapolis, this allowed Hyde E. Erdrich to be named one of the 22 poet laureates throughout the USA to receive the prestigious Academy of American Poets Award. She also spoke at the State of the City, and her term culminated with a very special event at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, where she offered her official poem for the city of Minneapolis. We are now working with the city to identify a wall of poetry in our new city hall for our poems to be added to the city's art collection and can be shared with everyone who comes through these esteemed halls. With our incredible thanks to Hyde E. Erdrich for her achievements in 2024, we would like to turn our attention to the next City of Minneapolis Poet Laureate so that I can invite Mayor Fry to do the official announcement.
Well, thank you, Director Ben Johnson. Thank you to the members of the City Council for having me, and thank you so much to these distinguished guests as we honor and induct our second Poet Laureate. A big thank you, if Hyde is listening, to all of Hyde's incredible work in leading this off, and I know that you're passing the baton to somebody who is truly incredible. Janata Petrus has done some incredible work, has been recognized broadly as someone of both a forward-thinking vision, but also someone who has received numerous awards for her research, for her ability and distinguished linguistic skills. I think you were the 2016 Artist or Poet of the Year as recognized by the City Pages. And so in honor of that, we are proud to move forward with this proclamation, Mr. President, if I may. Whereas the literary arts encompass the core of community, identity, and vitality and express the soul of our people, making it an essential component in celebrating our city's culture. And whereas poetic expression is honored literary tradition that engages the community with feelings, thoughts, and perspectives through artistic narratives, embracing our joys, celebrations, pains, fears, and hopes. And whereas a robust literary community remains vital to understanding the stories of our past and present with visions for our future. And whereas capturing our stories, our experiences, and our identities through poetry enables us to document our community's history. And whereas a literary city empowers all its citizens to embrace poetic expression in how we connect with one another, by doing so fostering a dynamic, thriving city that is by, about, and for the people. And whereas the City of Minneapolis Poet Laureate is selected in partnership between the Arts and Cultural Affairs Department, the Loft Literary Center, and the Minneapolis Arts Commission, and serves to bring together the community through the art of poetry and creative expression. And whereas Janata Petrus has been selected for the role of the 2025-2026 Minneapolis Poet Laureate, incorporating a new and unique voice, a powerful voice for poetic creativity and expression for the city of Minneapolis. And whereas the city of Minneapolis congratulates you in your announcement as the Minneapolis Poet Laureate and is honored to have your presence and perspective in efforts to further advance the arts and cultural footprint of the community. And whereas the city of Minneapolis encourages residents and guests to celebrate poetry and the literary arts on the occasion of our new Poet Laureate, as well as throughout the entire year. Now, therefore, I, Jacob Fry, Mayor of the City of Minneapolis, do hereby proclaim January 28th, 2025 as Janata Petrus Day in the city of Minneapolis. Congratulations. This is your, you get it, you can, yeah. You can, there you go.
Okay. I love you, Minneapolis, deeply, with all my heart. This is a true and deep honor to serve as Poet Laureate. It is my pleasure to stand up here with my elders and ancestors who were immigrants from Trinidad and St. Croix to this country, who worked hard as nannies, nursing home attendants, cab drivers, welders, cooks. I honor them with this honor and will do my best to shower all of them and all of us with love. Ingrid, Melvin, Pearl, Kelvin, Antoinette, I love you. And deep gratitude for my big sister, Poet Laureate predecessor, Hyde E. Erdrich, who has grounded this position in vibrant wisdom, genuine love for the community that I will continue on in my tenure. As a poet and artist, I'm the child of Nikki Giovanni, Alexis Duveau, June Jordan, Audre Lorde, Lucille Clifton, Sharon Bridgeforth, and Marie Baraka, Ricardo Levins Morales, Nina Simone, James Baldwin, Assata Shakur, and countless others known and unknown, named and unnamed, who are here to love on the people and the world with care and sweetness. As your Poet Laureate of Minneapolis, I will do everything to use poetry and art to create soft places of safety and joy and inspiration as we live in the light of the truth of our country and world. We are the many and mighty. And free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, free Haiti, free America, and free us all from America. And now I will introduce my first official poem for the city, and it's called Ritual for Loving Minneapolis Again. Since y'all is here, let's pull these pages. Ritual on how to love Minneapolis again. If you was away from here and people questioned where you was from and you told them people you was from Minneapolis and they said where, and you said where Prince was from, and they said, oh, okay, yes, I understand now, they wouldn't understand. That the Minneapolis sound of synthesizers soothes our nervous system somehow with that funk. That the Minneapolis funk of blunt guts and stale beer somehow still penetrates the coldest winter air, inhaled while waiting on the 5, anywhere on Chicago Avenue, Lake Street, or Broadway. That through the ice and snow, shamans push baby carriages filled with plastic bags of life possessions as they whisper or shout their wisdoms to you for free. That you hold your purple heart when you see the Mississippi and hear something tell you something. Being born by this river makes you listen different, listen slow. Makes you hear the other rivers we rode here, the Mekong, the Niger River, the Juba, Middle Passage, Greyhound, Railroad. That the Midwest Nile connects us to oceans and rivers in the lands of our ancestors we may never see. That the drums played by Native elders and kids at school assemblies would activate the memory of ancestral rhythms, African heartbeats, inner cosmos. They wouldn't know. That they made the place Prince learned how to play guitar over north into a police precinct, and you wish they would turn it back to a place where kids could learn something sacred. They wouldn't know that everyone's got an auntie that dated, married, and was in love with Prince, and still wears purple to mourn him. They wouldn't understand you was a crew of black girls invited to a Somali wedding, borrowed the homies' auntie's silk and colorful dresses, and was all dancing and bouncing with the family. Familiar, foreign rhythm. You was kinfolk, and you was in motherland on this motherland. That you used to buy your rolling papers at Cup Foods before it became the crossroads, before it became a chasm, and we was all swallowed up in red lines and chalk lines. That you was stopped by the police and you was alone or you wasn't, and you was quiet or you pleaded, or this was your first time, your 62nd time, your last time. That we say Bade Makaska and not the other name of a southern hustler of skin and soul when we look upon our city lake. That balancing on double-decker bikes and lowriders is the best way to ride our city. That you can't shame black girls whispering and giggling to each other on the bus, regal and bonnet and slippers, henna-laced hands, in dunks and fresh braids, hijabs, skateboards, and notebooks of poetry. How do you explain that as a teen, you wandered Nicollet Mall with no place to be, and you was alone, and you was searching, and you was cold, and you was in the footsteps of something ancient singing into your body? How do you make them understand that on a cold, frozen night, that even the wind gets into your heated home, can find you under the comforter in your pajamas, and in this warm cocoon, you think to yourself, does everyone have a warm bed? Does everyone have enough to eat? Does everyone have a place to be safe? Who's getting snatched in the night? They wouldn't understand at all still, and would add an any to mini and say Minneapolis, mixing the whole Midwest in their mouth. Not slowing down to feel the snow land on their tongues. They wouldn't understand that Native and black kids use their legs as jet skis to slide behind someone's old hoopty in gray slushy snow like some kind of hood aspen. That your immigrant parents got taught how to winter by fourth-generation Norwegian immigrants who explained the science of winter, its dialect of long johns, good boots, wool socks, warming the cars before you drive. How cold it can feel here. How it shocks your bones, how frigid and fragile it is to breathe in that gasp of icy air into your lungs, and you cough just to breathe. That even so, we kids would wear only hoodies and Adidas because we wanted to be cool, even in the freezing cold. That in Phillips, you would eat fry bread and have epiphanies like, fry bread is native fry bake. Fry bake is Trini fry bread. Colonizers' rations uniting us in our culinary ingenuities and cultural resistance across oceans, lakes, rivers, creeks, and lands. That we were neighbors who traded plates of food with foil blanketing them so we could all taste where we was from. Vietnam, Ethiopia, Chicago, Laos, Red Lake, Mexico, Trinidad, Somalia, Mississippi, Ecuador, Liberia, Eritrea, Palestine, Badote. They wouldn't understand that it isn't cold here all the time. Deep, deep, deep down inside, that something here is quite warm. Thank y'all. You're my official poetry paper holder.
Amazing.
Thank you. I don't know who to give it to. Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much. Oh, yeah.
We're going to take a photo, squeeze in
Yeah,
everybody.
y'all know how we do it. Y'all might do another layer if you need to.
Come on in, you guys.
Come on in, everybody. Can we get in? Can we get everybody in?
Yay.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How are you? Thank you for everything. Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, I know. We did it. We did it. I know. Thank you for all your work. Absolutely. Hey, Go-O. Ah.
Next, we will welcome up guests as we read a resolution recognizing February as Black History Month.
So I'm so honored to be able to share a resolution honoring Black History Month. And I think we have some folks that are going to join us or join me. And I am thrilled to be joined by my colleagues.
As Jamal says, the other black people. We know.
Wow, I get the honor of having two of my favorite things today, poetry and celebrating Black folks.
Amen. Love that.
So this resolution is a resolution of the mayor and the city council honoring. Oh, are they coming?
I was wondering. I was feeling a little lonely up here.
So are you guys wanting to read this resolution? Sure, yeah. I'm happy to. Hey, Julie.
Hey.
Hey, April. How are you, my love? Good to see you. Hey, Tony. How you doing? Oh, my goodness. Girl, I haven't seen you in a long time. Hope you can. Hey. Big D. Yeah, we need some people on the side. What's up, Big D? How you doing, baby? You good?
Not today with you. This is a whole,
I love us.
a whole north side situation.
All this Black beauty up here. So, once again, this resolution of the city of Minneapolis honoring February as Black History Month. Whereas, since 1926 and the creation of Negro History Week by Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the accomplishments of persons of African descent have been recognized each February. And whereas the month of February is observed nationally as Black History Month, to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of Black Americans who have made and continue to offer to this nation, with this year's national theme being African Americans and labor, and whereas Black History Month acknowledges and honors numerous past and present educators, scientists, activists, pioneers, leaders, artists, inventors, entrepreneurs, and elders with special ceremonies and activities, and
Whereas in 2016, to celebrate Black History Month, the Minneapolis Department of Civil Rights introduced Future History Makers, renamed to History Makers at Home, a profile series featuring emerging and mid-career leaders from the Twin Cities African American community who shared the department's ideas of advancing civil rights and removing barriers to equity. And whereas the department identified trendsetters in the areas of business, criminal justice, education, economic development, health, philanthropy, housing, and government, and defined them as history makers at home. And
Whereas the department also recognized the kinship of the work of trend-setting history makers to those who are legacy trailblazers, all who strengthen our communities through their work, talent, resources, and commitment to effect change and inclusivity. This year marks the sunsetting of this historically uplifting and important series. And whereas to support and foster history makers at home and other celebrations and events in the City of Minneapolis enterprise, an employee resource group to support Black City employees. The Minneapolis Black Employee Network, MBEN, was created on February 23rd, 2017, and
whereas on February 23rd, 2025, the Minneapolis Black Employee Network will proudly celebrate its 8th year anniversary. And whereas the Minneapolis Black Employee Network offers Black City employees peer support, mentoring, professional development, career counseling, and well-being support services. And whereas the Minneapolis Black Employee Network offers the City of Minneapolis recommendations on action steps to recruit, retain, support, and engage Black leaders to the city's workforce. And
whereas Black history and the contributions of peoples of African ascent are honored and uplifted at the City of Minneapolis, not only in the month of February, but throughout the entire year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council do hereby commemorate the achievements of Black Americans as history makers and legacy trailblazers in their role in the development of the region and the nation since its inception. And we join in recognizing the annual celebration of Black History Month and the anniversary of the Minneapolis Black Employee Network.
And maybe we can hear from the sponsor of MBEN, Chief Tyner.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for this resolution. It really does mean a lot. It really does touch my heart, and I think touches the heart of all the Black employees here in the city of Minneapolis. I'm very excited about having the opportunity to celebrate Black History Month, even though it's one of the coldest months of the year here in Minnesota. It is still one of my favorites, and so we're looking at celebrating all month long. We're not going to celebrate exactly in the same way as we did in the last couple of years, but we are going to celebrate. I just came up with the idea why I was standing here. So we might have like little pop-up parties. So you might be working and doing your stuff one day and just a party just might pop up. So look for that. So, but no, Black history is American history. So it's all intertwined. So thank you.
Anyone else want to share a few words? Well, Chief, as Janata reminded us, it's not always cold in Minneapolis, okay? So we can just gather in for a group photo. Do we need two lanes?
Yep. Thank you.
Hey, girl, how are you? Good. Thank you. There we go. All right. Hey, Chief, how are you?
Thank you.
Hey, Monique. How are you? Happy Black History Month. Thank you for holding it down always.
Thank you.
Chief,
Thank
I
you.
love you.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I will ask the clerk to call the roll for this regular meeting of the City Council for January 30th to order. I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Present.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Vitov.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison.
Here.
Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Present.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Vice President Shugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 13 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members and staff that this meeting is broadcast live to enable greater public participation. The broadcast includes real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. With that, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to get in queue for Councilmember Cashman.
Councilmember
Thank you,
Cashman.
Vice President Chugtai, and thank you, Mr. President. I'll move to amend the agenda to include, under the order of notice of ordinance introductions, a notice of intent relating to the pedestrian mall as part of the 38th Street and Chicago Avenue reconstruction project.
Wow. Councilmember Cashman has moved to amend the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry. Councilmember Jenkins.
Yeah, I move to amend the agenda to bring forth, sorry, my chair is not cooperating with me, but I want to bring forth a notice to suspend the item out of committee, the item we're referring to, the Chicago Avenue reconstruction out of committee. So I'll be bringing that notice forward.
Let's take up Cashman's item, and I was reminded by Vice President Chugtai there wasn't a second for that. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's take that up first, and then we'll seek the clerk's guidance on your motion once we take that item up. Councilmember Cashman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is giving notice of intent to introduce, so, there is no ordinance amendment before us yet, but the intention is for us to bring the enabling legislation to establish a pedestrian plaza at George Floyd Square in conjunction with the street reconstruction project, as this process has been outlined by our attorneys in the previous weeks during the climate and infrastructure discussions about George Floyd Square. And I'll just note that the various options that the Public Works Department has brought forward to the committee. Option A includes a pedestrian plaza, so it does have a cul-de-sac so that the businesses along this corridor still have vehicle access. The pedestrian plaza part would just be surrounding the FIST and ensure that our community can continue to gather at George Floyd Square for years to come.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I'm wondering if the current author and the future author, if someone could help me understand what your item would, how that would affect what Councilmember Jenkins' item, that would help me decide how to vote.
I'll say first we're making motions to amend the agenda, and maybe we could have a more substantive discussion once we get to that item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other discussion on this motion to add a notice of introduction to the agenda? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitov.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That motion carries, and that item is added to the agenda under the notice of introduction section. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Jenkins to make a motion for amending.
Thank you, Chair Payne, and I do apologize to my colleagues. I am pretty heavily medicated this morning, so, but I am moving to amend the agenda to include under the order of motions a notice to discharge from the Climate and Infrastructure Committee the item for the concept layout and approval of the easements for 38th Street and Chicago Avenue project, so that we can have a broad discussion on the council. It seems to be stuck in committee, and I am, hopefully, it'll move out of committee, but if not, then I would like to discharge that from the committee, and the entire council can weigh in on this item.
Councilmember Jenkins has moved to discharge the 38th Street in Chicago.
A notice.
A notice to discharge. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Walmsley.
Thank you, President Payne. I thought we also would get clarity from the clerks. I think we've dealt with maybe discharges twice, at least during my time in office, and I thought discharges had to come with a written notice previously. And so, can the clerks help lay out the process for how discharges work when you're trying to have an item be released from the committee, just so I'm making sure I'm voting on an appropriate motion.
Mr. Clerk, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. President. Under the rules, discharging a matter from committee is something that the council can do. The rules specifically provide that the council at any regular meeting can discharge any matter from a committee if prior notice is given. As in this case, then that notice would come back at the next regular meeting of council and require a majority vote for passage. A motion to discharge that doesn't have a prior notice requires a 2/3 affirmative vote to pass. So if the notice is being given, there's no action taken today. It's simply a notice to the body, and we would put that on the agenda at the next regular meeting of the full council. And at that point, by a majority vote of the members who are present, the matter can be pulled from committee and brought before the full council.
Thank you, President Payne, and thank you, Clerk Carl. Also, as you were laying that out, we just received formal copies of the motion, so this seems good to vote on then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're just amending the agenda to give notice. So on that agenda amendment, I will ask the clerk to call the roll. It's an amendment to the agenda to give notice for the next.
No,
Mr. Clerk,
Clerk Carl.
could you once again clarify? It seems that there's a little confusion.
Could I just read this really quick? Thanks. Mr. President, members of the council, my understanding reading this is that Councilmember Jenkins is simply giving the notice piece. So as I said, under the rules, if you give notice, this would be a motion showing up on the next council meeting. Mm-hmm. So there is no action today. It's simply giving a notice of a motion that would be introduced at the next regular meeting of the council to discharge from the Climate and Infrastructure Committee the street layout for George Floyd Square.
Any other questions on this motion? Councilmember Walmsley.
Also, just a follow-up question, Clerk Carl. Thank you, President Payne. Can you lay out then, and Actually, you know what, for the purpose, I'll wait till we return to this item once it's voting on, if it passes, and to basically get the procedural next steps. That's it.
There's not going to be a vote on it. It's just going to be a notice. So
Right, but it will be added to the notice agenda, right?
we can discuss it, but there's not
Yeah.
going to be any vote.
No, I know that part.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just want to be able to discuss the item. So,
Yep,
yeah.
got it. Okay, so we are prepared to take a vote on amending the agenda to add this notice. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Mr. President, I should clarify. The council member Jenkins has given notice. There's no vote on that. So we're voting now on the agenda as amended. Is that correct?
Sure, yes.
Okay. So on the motion to approve the agenda as amended to include the notice for ordinance introduction and to include the notice that Jenkins has given, Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and with that, the agenda for today's meeting is, that carries and the agenda is amended. Now may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Oh, we just did that. I apologize. The agenda is adopted. The next item is acceptance of minutes from our regular meeting of January 16th. I'd entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the minutes have been accepted. Finally, we have the referrals, petitions, communications, and reports to proper committees. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those matters have been referred. The next order of business is the presentations of reports from our standing committees. Those are taken in alphabetical order, beginning with the report of our Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. The Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee is bringing forward 16 items for consideration. The first is a gift acceptance from the United States Police Canine Association, Inc. of lodging expenses. Number two is a gift acceptance from the Minnesota section of the American Water Works Association of registration, travel, lodging, and meal expenses. I do want to note for committee members that by the time oh, no, we're good on this one. Actually, never mind. Number three, gift acceptance from the Southern Texas University through the Environmental Health Accreditation Council of Travel and Lodging Expenses. Number four is a gift acceptance from Results for America of Travel and Lodging Expenses. Five is a gift acceptance from Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund of Travel and Lodging Expenses. 6 is a gift acceptance from the Minnesota section of the American Water Works Association of travel, lodging, and meal expenses. Number 7 is a bid for hazardous tree removal and grinding. Number 8 is contracts with multiple vendors for police community chaplain services. Number 9 is a contract with Tyler Technologies for online permitting services. Number 10 is contract with Urban Ventures Leadership Foundation to administer the Pathway to a New Beginning gun diversion program. 11 is contract amendment with Sheehy Construction Company for the Convention Center Meeting Rooms remodel project. 12 is contract amendments with various vendors for interpreting and translation services. 13 is contract amendment with JPMI Construction Company for Second Precinct Improvements Project. 14 is contract amendment with A Mother's Love initiative for some ranch needle cleanup and disposal services. And 15 is contract amendment with Wells Fargo Bank for depository banking services. 16 is contract amendment with Principal Bank for custodial banking services. I will move approval of all items and also stand for any questions.
Councilmember Wansley has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to speak briefly on item number 8, the contracts with vendors for the police community chaplain services, and also ask a question which maybe members of the body are aware of. So a couple weeks ago at a cadet and CSO welcoming ceremony, I was able to speak to some officers about the importance of chaplain services and how important it is for us to continue to support this program, just thinking about families going through a tragedy and how impactful it could be to have a spiritual leader by your side at that time. And I just wanted to ask for members who've been on this body longer, or for any staff in the room, if we have information about whether this group of leaders being funded today do represent a variety of faiths and do represent the religious diversity of our city.
Councilmember Rainville?
Yes, thank you. I am familiar with that program, and yes, our city, our police department has made the effort to reach out to every faith that is represented. And I really enjoy that you started coming to these because you could learn and meet with the chaplains. They're great people, and they're very dedicated.
President Payne, as a chair, can I respond to that?
Chair Wansley, yes.
Thank you. So pertaining to the question that was asked about the contracts, I can't specify. I think that's actually something that should be noted in the staff memo, so staff can directly follow up with you in terms of what is the faith background or representation amongst the contracts that we're approving of today. I don't believe that was raised in committee when we were considering the items, but what I do know, kind of what Councilmember Rainville touched on, is there is diversity in terms of faith backgrounds that are represented in the chaplain program as a whole. But again, I can't speak to if that's reflected in the contracts that we're approving today.
Does that answer your question, Councilmember
Thank you,
Cashman?
Mr. President. I'm going to vote affirmatively on this, but I do want to have an answer to that question just for data purposes of, how well are we meeting the mark in terms of making sure we have this service for all people of faith in the city.
Did the clerks capture that question? Great. Councilmember Rainville, you were originally in queue. Did you speak to what you wanted to speak to?
No.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to briefly, all these chaplains are great. I've had the opportunity to meet all of them, but two in particular I want to call out. Joan Austin, who her mission is in South Minneapolis, and she generally leads the events in prayer or closes with prayer, so I really appreciate her. And it's always nice to see a fellow De La Salle alumni succeeding in their lives. So I really enjoy talking to Reverend Austin. But most of all, I want to recognize Father Hayes. And if you think about his service to our community and to the police department, over 40 years as a police chaplain, 200 plus weddings he's officiated, well over 400 baptisms. So this man of faith has dedicated a lot of his life to our police department, and I want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Osmond.
Thank you, Council President. My question is, if anyone who can answer, are there more than 9? There's 9 listed here. How many chaplains do we have in the city?
I'm not sure if anyone knows the answer to that question. Councilmember Wansley?
President Payne, I think this is another question for staff memo. I believe, we had a robust conversation around this during budget season when we all found out where the funding source for the chaplain program was, and it did look to be as if we were funding more than 9 at that time. But I think to get more specifics to your question, we should have a staff memo document that question.
Okay. Great. Seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the committee report.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. Next, we'll have the report from our Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, which will be given by that committee's chair, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee is bringing forward 12 items. Item 1 is approving 2 Zoning Board of Adjustment reappointments. Item 2 is authorizing a 3 land sale to the Minneapolis Park and Rec. Item 3 is denying a variance. Item 3 through 9 is denying a variance appeal from University Minnesota Avenue, 1815 University Avenue, and the number lists all the way to 1711 University Avenue. Item 9 is approving 25 liquor license renewal. Item 10 is approving 1 gambling license. Item 11 is confirming St. Anthony Falls Heritage Board appointment. And lastly, item 12 is authorizing a grant to the state for youth employment and training services. I'll move approval for all these items. Thank you.
Councilmember Osman has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Palmisano.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a few comments about number 16 from the committee report. That was the Supportive Housing Legislative Directive report. I'm happy to wait until announcements if that would be more appropriate. It was just received and filed at committee, so it's not coming forward for a motion right now.
Go ahead and speak to it.
Thank you. As one of the co-authors of the legislative directive, I wanted to thank CPED staff for their report that they gave at committee. It was a good discussion. This directive was born out of our disagreement on providing rehabilitation funding to the Agate Borden Lodge downtown facility. We asked CPED for a report back on the standard process required of any service provider requesting funding to make critical repairs for Borden Lodge transitional housing and shelter facilities, and also to highlight the importance of having a standard review process. We know now that Agate has decided not to move forward with the repair and renovation of their downtown facility because costs were going to be $7.7 million to get it back open. If we had been able to thoroughly evaluate that request, we could have investigated the feasibility of repair to begin with. I understand that our shelters are full or nearly full, and I support a housing-first approach. But we were not given the opportunity to make an informed decision because the request lacked both data and context. If we truly want to be a responsive local government, then we need to be responsive based on facts, not emotions. If we want to lead with our values, why can't our value be serving our unhoused neighbors in a responsible, thoughtful, and coordinated manner? That's my value. This legislative directive report and the financial attachments made clear to me the need for continued and active partnership with Hennepin County on all aspects of our homelessness response, and they were there for this report. I didn't realize they were there because of these huge posts in the room, but they were there, and it was mentioned at the very end. We all know that many or even most of our community partners are facing a fiscal cliff with the elimination of pandemic funding and the Trump administration's recent pulling back of a lot of programs. So we know we need their partnership to support our unhoused neighbors, and I think we all agree on that. We need to work collaboratively with all stakeholders for solutions to this crisis. That means that when we go it alone and we pick specific vendors or facilities to support, that's not collaborative, and it might not be in the interest of larger co-response with the county. With pandemic funding basically gone now, we need a coordinated plan and a defined funding process. It does not make sense for us to make decisions without understanding for the larger implications. For example, in this legislative directive's attachment tables, Hennepin County has leveraged $73 million in state funding for Borden Lodge operations for the last 4 years and provided $5 million in county funds for capital improvements to buildings. This would have been really valuable information to have during during our decision-making process. I'm in favor of our city supporting board and lodge and shelter needs, but we can't do it in a silo. We have to consider the investments and the larger investment plans of our partners. And that legislative directive, I think, really highlights the limitations of our funding. What we're really lacking is a full capital needs assessment of our temporary and supportive housing options in Minneapolis. That, I think, can lead us to making decisions based on the entire ecosystem and where our funds will best be utilized. I think that is probably likely best led by the county. And I seem to recall Councilmember Ellison actually bringing up doing more kinds of comprehensive studies on different kinds of housing in the past. And I think that's really worth it and worth looking at. But we've got to be smart and thoughtful about where we invest our public funds. Thank you.
I'll first respond and say I probably shouldn't have allowed this because now I'm seeing folks jumping in the queue and we actually don't have an item on the table to discuss, but I don't want to cut off discussion on this because this is a really timely topic. I see Councilmember Ellison in queue. I just want to be mindful that we don't actually have an item that we're discussing here, and probably shouldn't have started this discussion. So, colleagues, let's continue the agenda. Yeah. Is that okay, Councilmember Ellison? He's on queue. Okay. All right. Let's have Councilmember Ellison jump in.
I think this is a fine discussion to have. I'll encourage my colleagues to not speak after me. I like having the last word. I think that the point is well taken that Councilmember Palmisano is making, but I do want to offer just a little bit of a counter. And I'll say this: we are not solving this problem as a city, as a county, as a region. We're not solving this problem. And what I notice is that if everyone sort of gets into this standoff position, everybody's scared to spend money. Nobody wants to be left holding the bag, so to speak. Then nobody moves. Also, if the easiest thing to do, and if the most politically expedient thing to do, is for us to point a finger at the county, and the county to point a finger at the state, and the state to point a finger at us, then that's what's going to happen, right? If that's the easiest thing to do, I think that it is moments like this and efforts like this that do demonstrate a value, not just state it, but demonstrate it with real dollars on the table, right? I think it's okay to say that this effort did not prevail. I think that you're 100% correct about that. I think that point is well taken. But I also think it's important to say that people don't always expect you to succeed, but they do expect you to fight. And this is an effort where I think we put on the table our willingness to fight to see a shelter stay open. And I think that it's the kind of effort we should continue to engage in. We don't have enough money to bankroll the solution to this problem. That is 100% correct. But I also don't want us to think that sort of engaging in this, what I'm going to refer to as the standoff, or engaging in this standoff and refusing to spend money or refusing to put money on the table is going to somehow create a solution that emerges. The county is, you mentioned how much the county's putting in. The county is the lead partner on solving this issue. And I think that people at the county would tell you they're facing a budget shortfall, that it doesn't matter how much they're putting in, it's not going to be enough. And if we see certain programs, right, to the tune of $16 million annual budget shortfall that we could be under as a region, if we see certain programs starting to fold and buckle under the weight of these budget shortfalls, we can debate what the process should have been. We can debate who should have led on what when 100 people hit the streets, when 200 people hit the streets, when 1,000 people hit the streets overnight. Nobody in the community is going to accept that as an answer. And so that's what I want to just center and say this effort didn't prevail. I think that is fine to state. But I still think that it was real money on the table and an invitation that says, look, we want to keep shelter spaces open. We want to make sure that people are securely housed. We are 100% here for the collaboration. I think you prove that by showing where you're willing to put your dollars. And so, it's not to, go and point by point refute what you said. I think everything you said is correct. I think it's factually correct. And I want us to make sure that we're learning from this experience. But I also don't want us to sit here and think that this effort was just a failure because it didn't prevail, because it didn't ultimately equal in the shelter staying open. Because if we take that attitude, I think we're going to just engage in this dollars for dollar standoff. Nobody's going to invest. People are going to lose their ability to stay secure. People are going to end up more and more in encampments, and that doesn't help the region. That doesn't help anyone. And so here for the invitation, both from the county, from the state. I had a great conversation with some state partners just the other day about this issue. I'm going to continue to engage with the county. I think we all need to be invested in how we're sort of repairing and remedying this budget shortfall. But efforts like this, I think, need to be encouraged. We can go about it better. We can make sure we're hand in hand and moving together. But these kinds of efforts need to be had so that we can demonstrate to the community and to our partners that we're willing to put our money where our mouth is.
Well said, and thank you, colleagues, for recognizing that we don't have an item on the table and getting in queue. So I think those are some very fine final words, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the committee report.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. The next report is from our Climate and Infrastructure Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Climate and Infrastructure Committee is bringing forward 18 items. Item 1 is approving appointments to the Central Avenue Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 2 is approving appointments to the Uptown Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 3 is approving appointments to the Lowry Hill Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 4 is approving appointments to the Stadium Village Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 5 is approving appointments to the Lindale Lake Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 6 is approving appointments to the Linden Hills Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 7 is approving appointments to the Bloomington Lake Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 8 is approving appointments to the 50th and France Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 9 is approving appointments to 48th and Chicago Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 10 is approving appointments to the Dinkytown Special Service District Advisory Board. And item 11 is approving appointments to the West Broadway Special Service District Advisory Board. Item 12 is the project designation, cost estimate, and setting a public hearing for the Franklin Avenue construction project. Item 13 is the project designation, cost estimate, and setting the public hearing for the new Nicollet Ave construction project. Item 14 is authorizing cooperative agreement with Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority for the 10th Avenue Bridge over the Midtown Greenway. Item 15 is authorizing a cooperative agreement with the Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority for Pillsbury Avenue Bridge over the Midtown Greenway. Item 16 is a cooperative agreement with the Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority for Grand Avenue South and 18th Avenue South over the Midtown Greenway. Item 17 is authorizing a partnership agreement with the Loring Greenway Association. Item 18 is approving an ordinance amending provisions related to boulevards. So I'll move approval of items 1 through 17. Ask that item 18 on boulevards is pulled for a discussion. And I'll ask for a separate vote on item number 10, the Dinkytown Special Service District Advisory Board. Thank you.
Councilmember Cashman has moved the committee's report, and can you remind us of the items you wanted pulled for separate?
10 and 18.
10 and 18. Councilmember Cashman has moved a report minus items 10 and 18. Is there any discussion on the remainder of the report? Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, President Payne. I am in queue to speak on item number 18, so I can just hold my comments.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Same.
All right. Councilmember Chowdhury. See no one else in queue for the remainder of the report. We will take the roll on all items except items number 10 and 18.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those items are adopted. Next, we will take up item number 10, and I will recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. So I will be voting no on item 10.3. The applicant is a representative of Greystar Management, which is a property management company that operates in the university area. It is also one of the largest apartment owners and management companies in the U.S. Greystar is one of the landlords that's also being currently sued by the U.S. Department of Justice, and a coalition of 10 attorneys generals, including our own here in Minnesota, is a part of that coalition. The suit that's being brought forward alleges that these landlords participated in an unlawful scheme to decrease competition amongst landlords in apartment pricing, which has harmed millions of American renters. Also, I want to let the public and my colleagues know that there will be a presentation next week at the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee on February 4th by a representative of the Minnesota Attorney General's office, who will be giving an overview of that lawsuit. And of course, I welcome all of my colleagues as well as the public to tune into that conversation to learn more about that lawsuit and the allegations. I, along with Council Members Chavez and Ellison, have also introduced the ordinance that would ban the use of rental algorithms on Minneapolis units. So again, the technology that is being used by landlords like Greystar. This ordinance is independent of the lawsuits, but it is a way for our city to ensure that this harmful technology is not a barrier to our citywide goal of an equitable and affordable housing market for all of our residents. So that said, I don't think a representative of Greystar is the right person to serve on the Dinkytown Special Service District. So again, that is why I will be voting no on this item.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilmember Wansley, for raising this issue. I'm also going to be voting no on 10.3. You know, there are also Greystar buildings in Ward 7 on Oak Grove Street where we had a lot of gun violence this past year, and this company is impossible to reach. The hundreds of residents in my ward who are living in Greystar buildings have no accountability from their property management, from their landlord, facing bullet holes in the glass in front of their building, no on-site management, floods, broken elevators, all kinds of disrepair in this building, and inability to address these concerns. And so I don't think, while it's not personal to this person, it's the property management from this company that I don't think is well suited to serve on an advisory board at our city.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on item number 10. And if you are planning to vote no on 10.3, just signify that.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye on all except for 10.3.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye all except 10.3.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye on all except for 10.3.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye on all except 10.3.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye on all except 10.3.
President Payne.
Aye on all except 10.3.
There are 13 ayes on the report except for number 10.3, which has 13 nays.
That item carries except for item 10.3, which fails. Next, we will take up item number 18. And I'll recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to make a motion to refer this item to the next committee of the whole meeting in discussion with my co-authors and lead author, Councilmember Palmisano. The Boulevard Ordinance seeks to legalize edible gardening and other types of planting. Currently, just for the public to note, only what's legal on the boulevards under city code is grasses, flowers, and trees with a permit, and then there's some restrictions. And so the intent around this is to create an opportunity to be more permissible and encourage people to grow in their boulevards. However, the policy itself is very technical in nature, and there has been a lot of engagement from community members in my ward and throughout the city, just concerned about the ordinance. And I believe that we just need to take some time with community members to share what it's about. I also think there's a little bit of debate we as a body need to have around some of the provisions within it to just get to a place where we have the best policy possible in service to our community. The issue just got a little bit thorny, pun intended. And so we'll be moving this to the committee of the whole if there's a proper second.
Councilmember Chowdhury has moved to refer this item to committee of the whole. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. We've gotten a lot of feedback about this ordinance, and I want to get it right. Staff has done a lot of work on this, particularly as it pertains to parkways versus our city roadways, and they've accommodated a number of things. I think we have a pretty comprehensive document that has a few last sticking points. So I welcome this discussion, and we are planning to have one with Council Members Chowdhury, Council President Payne, and Public Works leadership in the near future. And I do welcome this discussion and the nuance of the final product. Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in queue, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on the referral of item number 18 to committee of the whole.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the full report is completed. The next report is the committee of the whole, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, President Payne. The committee of the whole is bringing forward 2 items. Item number 1 is appointment boards and commissions, administrative reforms, reestablishing the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities, the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Aging, the Public Health Advisory Committee, and the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing. And item number 2 is emergency funding for the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. I'll move approval of both these items.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the items. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I just wanted to take a moment to thank my colleagues for supporting the emergency funding for the Minnesota Indigenous Women's Resource Center and committee. I hope your support continues here in full council. And I just express support for city staff for their collaboration. And also huge thank you to MIWRC for standing up this emergency warming center when other warming centers were in capacity, and it was really just a life or death situation for many people in our city during the extreme cold advisory. And this funding is doing something that's very necessary, which is ensuring that we have this life-saving resource. I'm also really appreciative to MUD for their collaboration and their efforts to try to bring the city, the county, and the state together and really leaning in on a multi-jurisdictional approach, which I frankly think should have happened years ago, but now is the time to lean in. And I thank them for sending a letter of support and service to this item and the work that they've been doing in the local Indigenous community. I also thank Hennepin County, Commissioner Angela Conley, David Hewitt, Daniel Werder for all of their work and their collaboration as well. And yeah, I just want to say one more thing, and it says that I recognize that this item is one in which we are reacting to the situation of unsheltered homelessness. And it is endemic of the fact that we don't have a strategic plan across jurisdictions. We don't have a long-term, short-term, mid-term plan that we can point to and say, these are the steps that we're taking to address this issue, especially in the face of multiple fiscal cliffs, which we will be spending time lobbying at the Capitol to address. However, now is the time, after years past when we needed it, to come together and really lean in. And I appreciated Councilmember Ellison's points in that. I think this item shows that we can collaborate and we can find our way, and that there are real life people that are at the center of this. And I want to acknowledge that I believe 2 years ago in our budget hearing, we had a number of unhoused community members come and speak, and we declared unsheltered homelessness a public health emergency. There was a young woman by the name of Marissa who came and spoke, and she shared her story, and like many of her loved ones, struggled with sobriety, worked on her sobriety, got sober, and started connecting with her daughters again. Got some housing, but that then was taken away from her, not because of actions of her own, but because of this unstable system. And I had recently asked another community member how she was doing, and I had learned that she had passed away. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't bring that up to be dramatic, but I bring that up to hold a mirror to the situation that we're in and how important it is in this action to be a part of the many, many things that we have to do in collaboration of other local levels of government. So thank you.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury, for your leadership in bringing this forward. You know, as a body, we've had a lot of conversations about when and how the city should step up to fund these type of operations, and I think this step forward today, where we're actually matching an equal level of funding from Hennepin County, is a good step in the right direction of having, shared responsibility between levels of government and really putting money into an organization on the ground that has the capacity and ability to deliver on these services. I'm just really impressed with how they've pulled together this warming center just this month, helping 15 residents enter treatment, 18 enter long-term shelter, 2 have been permanently housed, many more navigating the process of coordinated entry. So, establishing this mini navigation center is proving to be effective, and I think this is a great direction for us to be heading in as we're all looking for solutions to helping address the crisis of unsheltered homelessness in Minneapolis.
Councilmember Osmond.
Thank you, Council President. And again, thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury, for your leadership on this. And I also want to thank Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, who have stepped in when all government agencies failed. We were letting people stay and sleep outside temperatures like negative teens. And Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center opened their gym or their facility for these folks. And I have visited, and it's people felt like, they were treated a good way. They had opportunity to connect with service providers. They had opportunity to be able to stay in a warm place. And this was really moving. For me, it's located in Ward 6, and I can't thank the volunteers who have committed to volunteer and just make sure that these folks are getting the dignity they deserve. And I really want to thank Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center for stepping in, and I encourage the city, the county, and the state to not let people watch and live in an undignified locations like encampments and so on. So again, thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury, for bringing this forward and for your leadership on this.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I'm just curious if anyone can answer, is this an ongoing project or is it only when it's 30 below zero? Like, how does it function and operate?
Councilmember Chaudhry.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Jenkins. The organization is going to be determining different temperature thresholds to open up the center and also consider how much funding is available for it to be open, specifically overnight. This funding also is just conditioned upon an agreement with our City of Minneapolis Regulatory Services Department. So hopefully some of that will be tooled out there. And it's one-time funding as well.
What's the conditions?
The condition is a condition for an agreement between MIWRC and the City of Minneapolis.
Thank you.
I added myself to queue just to say that that's an excellent question, and it's one of the questions we're seeking to get a deeper understanding about in our emergency operations plan. So we've brought a legislative directive forward to try to get a better understanding of what are those thresholds for when we need to escalate interventions around how we're responding to cold weather events and what should be the resources that we were bringing to those cold weather events. Our emergency operations plan, as the version I have in my office, is from 2016. And I think that the conditions in the world have changed quite significantly since 2016. So we're hoping to get more clarity from the administration on how we should be planning around that. Even speaking to Councilmember Palmisano's point about what is this comprehensive cross-jurisdictional approach that we need to have for these types of situations. And seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the committee's report.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shabtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. The next report is from our Intergovernmental Relations Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chaudhry.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Health and Safety Committee.
Hi, John.
That was a okay impression. That was a pretty good impression. I'll give it to you. Thank you, Mr. President. The Intergovernmental Relations Committee is bringing forward one item for approval, and that is the passage of a resolution supporting the Neighbors Not Enemies Act to repeal the Alien Enemies Act. I'll move this item for approval.
Councilmember Chaudhry has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shabtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. The final report will be offered by our Public Health and Safety Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Health and Safety Committee is bringing forward 5 items for approval. Item number 1 is fees for use of city-owned resources ordinance. Item number 2 is the Minnesota Department of Human Services grant amendment for naloxone education and distribution. Item number 3 is high-intensity drug trafficking areas program grant to address regional drug threats. Item number 4 is a grant application and acceptance to the Minnesota Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management to prepare for emergencies and disasters. And item number 5 is a Winter Safety and Emergency Preparedness Legislative Directive. This is a legislative directive related to the city's winter safety and emergency preparedness. We brought forward this item as a late addition to the PHS agenda with a report back due to our next meeting on February 5th. But after further discussion with the Office of Public Service, I'm going to move this item with a revised report back to the date of February 19th PHS committee meeting, which I mentioned in the committee of the whole, colleagues, to give enough time for staff. With that, I'll move approval of all items, including the minute report back date of February 19th on item number 5.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the committee report, noting that change to the date for the Winter Safety Emergency Preparedness Legislative Directive. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I just want to motion for item number 1, fees for use of city-owned resource ordinance, to be moved for a separate discussion and vote.
Councilmember Wansley has moved for a separate discussion on item number 1. Is there any discussion on the remainder of the items? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on all items except item number 1.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vito.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those items have been adopted. Next, we will take up item number 1, and I will call on Councilmember Wansley to speak to that.
Thank you, President Payne. I'm really excited to talk about this ordinance in light of us taking a final vote on it. So we all are aware that for decades, both subject matter experts and directly impacted residents have been telling city leaders that MPD's off-duty system was ripe for corruption and essentially is just a bad deal for residents. And we also note that many investigative reports, including those from the U.S. Department of Justice, have spoken also to the lack of political will by city leadership to implement significant regulations to rein in this system. And this inaction has had a high cost to residents. Small business owners have also spoken publicly about the financial exploitation and discrimination they have experienced as a result of an unregulated off-duty system that we've had at the city. The city has also paid out settlements related to misconduct by officers working off-duty. And even based on initial data provided by MPD, if the city had implemented off-duty fees earlier, even incorporating fees for squad cars, we could have recouped up to $1.4 million in public funding, or dollars that essentially went to subsidizing private employment for MPD officers. And I'm very grateful that today we have the opportunity to begin the process of reining in this inequitable and fiscally appalling program. And of course, I urge my colleagues to support this ordinance, which not only makes fiscal sense, but it is also crucial for advancing our goal of an equitable citywide community safety system. Additionally, I do want to share a few of the next steps that is going to happen after consideration of this ordinance, because I know that came up in committee as we discussed it. So my co-author, Council President Payne, and myself will, of course, continue this urgent work of exploring how we can regulate our off-duty system. And currently, the best available data that we have right now states that we could employ a fee of $19 per hour for the use of a squad car. However, we also last year brought forward legislative directive asking MPD to carry out basically a fee study to give us a comprehensive understanding of what additional fees could be incorporated. And in May, MPD will be bringing forward that study, which will provide updated figures for the full cost of vehicles, materials, uniforms, administration, and any other costs that taxpayers currently subsidize in off-duty work. And with these updated figures, Council can then amend the fee schedule for 2026 and begin implementing fees on off-duty work. So I look forward to today's vote and to continue this work of, within our limited scope of authority, figuring out how we could continue regulating off-duty with a coalition that ranges from ordinary residents to the U.S. Department of Justice, as well as with our small business owners of Minneapolis. So with that, again, I encourage my colleagues to support this ordinance and stand for any questions.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I don't serve on the committee that deliberated this ordinance, so I just want to ask my colleagues if they can help me understand a little bit more about what's before us and what baseline data we have. So really important to me to understand, we have a police department that's understaffed with police officers working overtime, and if officer wellness and making sure that they're, not working too much to compromise their ability to work. Does the chief have a policy already with regards to how much off-duty work police officers can do so as to not interfere with the regular hours and overtime hours they're already doing for the city? Not sure if anyone has the answer to that question or if it came up.
So this slightly came up in our conversations in committee, and I would encourage any colleagues that have questions in terms of how is off-duty being currently tracked to bring those directly to MPD. What we're considering today is enabling legislation for the city to begin collecting fees. Right now, we don't have a system in place that allows the city to collect fees for off-duty. So essentially, every component that's used for off-duty, we're talking about squad cars, uniforms, the things that officers use, public resources. There's no charging systems in place for that. Those charging systems in any other scope of the city enterprise is associated with fees. So this is about putting in at least some level of guardrails and accountability through our fee systems to be able to start recuperating the cost of that program. And then we can explore other things around tracking. And I think, again, those are questions to bring to the chief. And hopefully that will be incorporated in the fee study analysis we get back in May.
Okay, thanks for outlining that. And then recognizing the Department of Justice outlined in their report that off-duty work undermines direct lines of supervision in the department, and improving supervision is a large part of the consent decree that we just voted unanimously on as a body and determined that with the mayor that we are determined to implement this as quickly as possible. I think this is, one of those steps towards consent decree implementation because it's what the Department of Justice is asking us to do. And I also saw the police chief put out a statement that he said he supports charging for the wear and tear on city-owned squad cars. So I just want to thank him for his commitment to consent decree implementation as well. So, beyond squad cars and uniforms, do we have an idea of what other public resources are being used by police in off-duty work?
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. So once again, that is why we are why we brought forward that legislative directive. And I will also note this is work that has been happening way in advance of the U.S. consent decree. So we've been asking these questions, as well as residents, of what actually goes involved or what is involved in running this program. So hopefully we will get a fuller understanding of exactly what you're asking in that report back from MPD of what is associated, where are the full costs that maybe we have considered or have not considered in the past recent years that we can incorporate into that fee schedule, and so that we can have a transparent process to document and release and share with both council, residents, and those soliciting these services to know upfront what you will be paying if you want to purchase this, and also for the officers themselves who are looking to use this as a side hustle and know what they have to take on in their own responsibility as well.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question I have, which, I understand these questions are for the chief and for this report, but my question is about the hourly cost of off-duty work. I've heard different reports from businesses in my ward who are, required to actually hire off-duty cops as part of the large block event permit, that the cost has gone up astronomically this past year, and they weren't sure why and according to what. So that's a big cost, and it's actually prohibitive of some of our, especially downtown in the entertainment district, our bars and restaurants from being able to have large block events, is that the cost went up. It actually seemed to have doubled this year. So I am just curious what the cost of overtime work is and if that's uniform across all across all customers or how they're assessing that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilmember Cashman. And this is one of the reasons why I brought the motion last year, or the staff direction for the Policy and Research Division, to do a pretty comprehensive report and analysis of what is the landscape of off-duty. And they give some really good information that I would encourage my colleagues to visit, and that might be helpful as a first starting place. But that is the issue right now, and that is why we're taking steps like this to regulate this program, because there is no standardization. I can imagine if you spoke to several of those businesses downtown, and I would say even in my wards, they will give you a different answer of what they're being charged. And that is the problem, and why many agencies have said this is ripe for corruption, because there's no tracking, there's no standardization, and there's been limited accountability of how we're really, making sure that residents or business owners soliciting these services aren't being exploited. So again, this is an opportunity for us to start doing this. This is within our legal grounds and within our authority to be able to at least put some standardization in place. And again, have that transparency for residents, for business owners, for all those seeking to use this service.
Mr. Shutt, did you have anything to add?
Oh yeah, and thank you. CIOs also helped so much in putting this together. Yes.
Thank you, President Payne. My name is Amy Shutt. I'm an assistant city attorney with the city of Minneapolis. And I did also want to speak to the issue that you raised, because we have for years heard concerns from businesses and event planners about the fact that they do need to hire security for their businesses or events as part of the licensing process. And it is important for them to know that as recently as the last couple of years and even further back, changes have been made to the licensing process so that while they are required to have security, that security does not necessarily need to be off-duty officers. Businesses don't always know that. Event planners don't always know that they do have options, but they do now, pursuant to our processes, they are allowed to hire any qualified security service to perform those services. It does not have to be off-duty MPD officers.
Thank you, and you're at time now. So did you want to get back in queue for any other further follow-ups? Okay, great. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I want to start off by saying I think this off-duty system is completely out of control, as has been stated, and it does present harm to our communities. Some officers work more hours than they need to, and then subsequently have challenges when they are on duty, etc. I just don't think that this is a cost that should be borne by our staff. I think that, they are off duty in Minneapolis, helping to keep Minneapolis safe. I think these fees should be borne by the, quote, employer who is hiring these off-duty cops. That's who should be paying these fees, not our staff. As has been stated, we do require people to have off-duty police. And Ms. Shutt, with all due respect, it is very unclear that you can hire other people, because it literally says you should have off-duty police, unless we've changed that to this date. And so if we have calculated a fee for that, then it seems like that fee should be standard across the board, and it shouldn't be any discrepancies where some operators are paying more or less per hour for that service. And it just feels premature. We don't even know what the costs are yet until May at some point. And so we're passing an ordinance to collect fees that we don't even know what the fees are up to this point. So I'm really challenged by this ordinance today.
Ms. Schutt, did you want to clarify the requirement around, or this concept of the requirement of having the hire MPD versus a licensed security officer?
Of course, yes. Thank you, Council President Payne. Councilmember Jenkins, I'm glad that you brought that up because it continues to be a source of confusion and misinformation within our community. This has been a complaint of business owners for a long time and was brought up for consideration at the council a number of years ago. At that time, the council did decide to make a change to our policies around who could be hired, but it's not well known by businesses. Businesses are still under the impression that they only have the option to hire off-duty police and that they don't have any other options. So you are correct that that is not a well-known fact and that a lot of businesses don't know that they have that option. If I may also, to the point of the process here. So the process of changing the ordinance is really a multi-step process. We are in step one of the process here, which is simply creating an ordinance that would allow the city to collect the fees. So the ordinance that we're looking at today is very simple and very specific to that fact. It's simply allowing the city to collect fees for use of off-duty resources. The next step of the process, as Councilmember Wansley alluded to, will come after that fee study has been done and we have information on what those fees will be. At that point, we will need to complete the next step of the process, which would be an amendment to the fee schedule and the fee schedule ordinance to incorporate those fees into the fee schedule. But we couldn't do that if we didn't have the authority to do that.
Oh, go ahead. Councilmember Jenkins.
When would the collection of fees begin?
As Councilmember Wansley indicated, the plan, as I understand it right now, is to begin collecting those fees at the beginning of 2026.
Did you have any other questions, Councilmember Jenkins?
Not at this time.
Actually, President Payne,
I was going to actually ask if you could clarify the who pays the fee.
That is something that also all of your questions around how the fee is collected, how the process is done by city staff, what kind of fees are collected, how those fees are determined, all of that is something that needs to be done as part of that fee schedule. So that is why it's really important to set that fee schedule in motion now in order to be able to have staff do that analysis and evaluate what the best process is so that they can come forward to you with a plan for how that's going to happen. So I don't have an answer for you, but all of those questions and any other questions you have about the who, what, when, or why are questions to be directed to the staff doing the fee study, who will then bring forth the proposal and incorporate all of those answers into it.
So if I could summarize that, the action we're taking today is creating the conditions to be able to define those specifics, but we don't have the authority to start the definition of those specifics until we pass this enabling legislation today.
Correct.
Thank you. Councilmember Rainville.
So I'm going to vote for this fee study because I do think we should have to have a thoughtful process on how to do this. I do not agree with some of the earlier simplistic remarks about this off-duty system. You know, we have to enter this with an open mind and try to serve the public. I do want to remind my colleagues that, for example, the Pride Parade alone has over 50 squad cars. Twin City Marathon has over 75, and then there's all of the park board squads that are used for the Twin City Marathon. So let's keep our open mind and come up with something that does not raise our public safety costs to such extreme that to Councilmember Cashman's point that people are not able to afford to have their events. Thank you.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am happy to support this, and I'm anxious to get the fee study back from MPD so we know what we're actually looking at here. As I said in committee, I want every off-duty officer to be able to swap into active duty whenever necessary. That's a community multiplier, and that's the entire reason we even have off-duty in the first place. So I do not want to limit that. I'll also just point out that this process, and thank you, Councilmember Wansley, for carrying this out, this is exactly how PCAR should have worked, ironically.
Councilmember Osman.
Oh, thank you, Council President. I do agree this is really good idea for us to start charging this money. But where it comes from is where we wait, and it does make sense for me to charge the money to people that are hiring, the businesses that are hiring police officers, and also I do want to mention that. Speaking on this, requiring some of the events that we have in our community, police, it doesn't make sense. I work closely with Somali Week or Cinco de Mayo on Lake Street, and the cost of organizing that, it's a lot. And now having the permit to host those meetings, requiring police officers, it doesn't really make sense. It's not feasible to them to run successful, thinking about the expensive, how much it is, and security works for many of these small events. But yes, just want to make that point. I think it's a good step for us to move forward, but where it comes from, where the money getting charged, I don't think I would agree that the fee should be charged to officers. Just put it out there. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellison.
I was going to come in just to offer some of my thoughts about the ordinance process, but it seems like those questions got answered, so I want to thank staff for that. I did want to just say, I'm encouraged by how this conversation has gone, just because in my first 3 years in office, this wouldn't have even been controversial. It wouldn't have been a debate. It would have just been considered good governance, and we would have just kind of moved on. I don't even know how much discussion we would have had. And the last couple of years now, we've seen that everything that mentions police, it brings the news out because they think it's going to be a really exciting story. But I think that this is like something that needs to be boring. That's what good governance is. It's boring. It's deliberative. It needs to happen. It's necessary. And so, we're going to get this ordinance back. We're going to get this information back, and we're just going to pass good governance. And so I just want to thank Councilmember Wansley, and I want to thank my colleagues for let's get back to this normal where we're not sensationalizing every single thing that has to do with the police department, but we're getting back to good, boring, non-news generating ordinance creation. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. And I actually got in queue to make some similar remarks around good governance and just kind of connect this to this broader picture. I want to connect this to the contract that we just approved and what the history of the police union's relationship with the city has been. And that history was really about offloading a lot of management rights to the police department in exchange for lower pay, right? Because maybe city leaders in previous generations were looking at this from a more fiscally conservative perspective, and by having lower base rates, it allowed the city to keep money off the books and keep the budget low and therefore the taxes low. And it gave a little bit more flexibility to rank and file officers, and also gave them that flexibility to make up for that kind of personal economic difference through this type of off-duty work. We are in different circumstances now. We have approved a contract that has solidified more of our management rights as an employer, and we have adjusted their base salaries to reflect that. And so it should remove some of the need to make up these kind of pay equity differences through these informal arrangements with small businesses. And then I just wanted to layer in also, to Councilmember Cashman's point around officer wellness, some of the tighter regulations that we want to have around unity of command. Again, it's not just corruption, it's just bad management practices to have patrol officers being able to control the paycheck essentially for a sergeant or a lieutenant. That's just completely inverse of the concept of chain of command, unity of command, span of control, some of these things that are just around good management and good practices. And I just brought up the policy that the chief had shared with us previously when we were having a conversation about off-duty, that they are still bound to no more than 160 hours in a total in a pay period. They need at least a full 24-hour day of rest with no work shifts of any kind, including off-duty, and other department duties shall be prioritized after the employee's primary duty assignment. So that means overtime, court, special duty, and off-duty employment shall only be considered once department duties have been satisfied. And one of my biggest contentions around off-duty work is that either we're in a staffing crisis and we don't have enough officers to do their core duty assignments, their primary duty assignments, or we have enough staff capacity that once those primary duty assignments are completed, they still have capacity to take on off-duty work. Both of those things can't be true. We can't both be in a staffing crisis and have the capacity to do off-duty work in the first place. And so a lot of what this is doing is helping us have tighter understanding and control around how officers are using their time so that we are prioritizing public safety, including the, quote, force multiplier of these off-duty shifts. So I will double check the queue. I see Councilmember Rainville.
Yes, thank you. I just want to invite you that we can have a off the record conversation about the difference between officers fulfilling their union obligation for hours served and then on their own accord volunteering for off-duty time. There is a difference that I think I would love to talk to you about personally off away from the TV cameras.
Happy to have that conversation. All right. With that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on item number 1 on the Public Health and Safety Report.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins is absent. Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Shabtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries and the full report is adopted. And with that, we have completed the reports of all of our standing committees. The next order of business is notice of ordinance introductions. We have one notice today. Well, we have one ordinance introduction today, which is from Councilmember Cashman, who gives notice of intent to introduce at our next regular meeting the subject matter of an ordinance related to the Streets and Sidewalk Code, reorganizing Chapter 439 by renaming the chapter Pedestrian Malls and adding a new article to be titled George Floyd Square Pedestrian Mall as part of the 38th Street and Chicago Avenue Reconstruction Project. Are there any questions on this notice? Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is probably for Councilmember Cashman. Who makes the decision for the city-owned properties then? It seems like that would be an administrative decision. Is this pedestrian mall meant to include things to take the public out of consideration for even having a pedestrian mall?
Mr. President, Councilmember Palmisano, can you repeat the second part of your question?
It would be covered. Who makes the decision for city-owned properties? As you know, the city owns the former Speedway at George Floyd Square. So who gets to make the decision for city-owned properties in a pedestrian mall approval process?
Yeah, thank you for the question. We went about this with the attorneys, and I believe it's the CPED director, as well as the city engineer, Brian Dodds, who actually signed documents related to city-owned properties.
I think that's important as we move forward, but this is just notice of introduction. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on this notice? Seeing none, that notice is hereby given and no further action is required at this time. The second notice that we have is from Councilmember Jenkins, and I will just read the motion. Councilmember Jenkins gives notice that she intends to bring forward at the next regular meeting of the City Council on February 13th, 2025, a motion to discharge the Climate and Infrastructure Committee for further consideration of the concept, layout, approval, and easement for the 38th Street and Chicago Avenue project. There is no action needed at this time for that. Mr. Clerk, did you want to speak to this?
Mr. President, thank you. There were questions asked at the beginning of the meeting, and so I thought I would take a moment just to sort of, I think, explain how I see the current situation. I think the council now has before it another procedural situation. It's a bit unusual, and so we'll need to pull apart the various elements of this proposal as we move forward. As you know, as the body knows, there is a concept plan for the design of a development project that was submitted actually years ago. It's been underway. That plan, which I'll refer to as Plan A, is currently pending consideration before the Climate and Infrastructure Committee. And so today, a notice of ordinance introduction has been added to the agenda. We just acted on that. That brings a new legislative process to substantively change the direction of that development project from what it had been, and would change it from a flexible open design to a pedestrian mall design. So that was the subject of discussion over several cycles now, is how that works. Assistant City Attorney Spoor explained on numerous occasions that the process, which is dictated by state law for a pedestrian mall, has very specific requirements, which includes the introduction of an ordinance that clearly states from the beginning that the intent is to develop a pedestrian mall. So this process aligns with that statutory requirement. It essentially begins the process of creating what I'll call a Plan B for George Floyd Square. Councilmember Jenkins then has given notice of intent to bring forward a motion to discharge the matter from the committee so that the full council can consider and act on proposed Plan A. I'll note that the council doesn't have possession of this matter right now. This was a topic we talked about last cycle, about one of the factors to consider is who has possession. Right now, the Climate and Infrastructure Committee has possession of that matter. So until the committee takes some action, either to bring it forward a recommendation, or if the council were to discharge that matter from committee, the council can't take formal action. The notice of ordinance introduction today begins a new process, as I've said. It is my advice that the Climate and Infrastructure Committee will need to determine what action it might take, regardless of whether that involves Plan A or Plan B. If Plan B, the pedestrian mall, is to advance, then I would recommend that the existing Plan A for the flexible design space be referred to the city clerk. So from the infrastructure, or the Climate Infrastructure Committee to the council would refer that to the clerk. It's an unusual procedure, but essentially what that would do is suspend any further development on Plan A. It would put it with the clerk sort of on file, so that if at some point in the future, as the council and the city together pursue a Plan B for a pedestrian mall and it doesn't work out, the council can return back to Plan A without losing the work that's been done on that part. So that would be my recommendation, to at least save any work that was done over these years on Plan A. Furthermore, if Plan B is to move forward, I believe that a legislative directive from this body clearly articulating the purpose, the intent, the desired policy level results or outcomes should be considered by this body to help the city attorney's office in terms of crafting an ordinance that not only meets the legislative intent of this body, but that clearly aligns to the statutory requirements, which are unique and different in this very specific thing, under enabling legislation from the state that allows for the development of a pedestrian mall. So the city attorney can weigh in on that point if she wishes. I'll just conclude by saying that these notices today would tell me, and I think the Climate and Infrastructure Committee should be receiving that message, that a decision around this design project needs to be made within the next cycle, either to move forward with or without recommendation Plan A, or knowing that the council is introducing Plan B. If the committee wants to move forward with Plan B and as an alignment, then as I suggested, we should refer to the city clerk Plan A, so that stays. There is no action to take, as you said, Mr. Council President, because these are procedural matters. These aren't formal actions. But again, I think they are a clear indication to all council members that the body is moving forward in some direction within the next cycle.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Carl. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. So I'm bringing forth this notice. My community has been deeply impacted by the murder of George Floyd, and then has been subsequently significantly impacted by the loss of transit in that corridor. The number 5 is a route that runs through 6 different communities: Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis, Ridgefield, Bloomington, all the way out to the airport and to the Mall of America. It is a major thoroughfare in the city of Minneapolis and the region. to the point that it was even referenced in the Minneapolis poem today, the number 5. If we did a pedestrian mall at this intersection, it would significantly impact disabled residents, elderly residents, residents with children who rely on public transportation to access school, doctors, employment, etc. It kind of boggles my mind that this body, which has some of our most challenging conversations, has been around transit. And now we're saying we want to take transit from this community. I'm perplexed. The neighbors, we've done several surveys. The work that Mr. Carr referred to over several years that would be dismissed in that scenario. It's not just work, it's $2.2 million that we have invested in this process. And so I think it's time for us to come to some decisions on this, which is the intent of my notice to bring forth this motion to dismiss. Hopefully the C&I committee can get this work done, but if not, then we need to grapple with it as the council. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I'll just make my comments quick and short. I think late last year we voted to support the pedestrian concept plan. So we were very clear in how we were going to move forward as a city council. We passed that resolution. I'll repeat it again. We said we supported the pedestrian concept plan, which was one of the proposals that was put forward to the public. So we have been very clear how we want to move forward. So I don't want the public to get confused. This body voted with 8 votes to do so. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no one else in queue, that notice is hereby given. Oh.
Yeah,
Councilmember
I'm sorry.
Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. Councilmember Chavez, can you clarify what you're referring to?
Councilmember Chavez?
Thank you, Council President Payne. I'm talking about the resolution that we said we would support a pedestrian mall concept, the one that was presented by Public Works. It was not recommended by Public Works, but it was one of the 3 options that was before, that was presented to the public, that was presented to a committee. We were very clear in that. That day, though, when we passed it, we did refer the concept plan back to the committee, Climate and Infrastructure Committee, because we wanted to figure out what steps we needed to take to establish that pedestrian mall. As you saw, Councilmember Jenkins today, Councilmember Cashman brought forward the notice of introduction so we can actually begin that process. So I just want the public to know that we're not unclear on what we are doing. We were very clear late last year that we were pursuing the pedestrian mall. There is now a notice of intent before us, and that's a pathway we're going towards.
Well, it's very clear that the people that live in that community do not want a pedestrian mall. The people that operate businesses in that community do not want a pedestrian mall. It is very clear to me as the council member representing this area that it is not a conducive idea to put a pedestrian mall in the middle of the most significant transit corridor in the city.
Councilmember Chavez.
We both represent that intersection, to be clear.
Seeing no other discussion, we are next on the order of business of introductions and the referral calendar. There are two introductions today. First, Council Members Chavez and Wansley move to amend the prior introduction of the subject matter of an ordinance amending the Civil Rights Code given at the regular meeting of the City Council on May 23rd, 2024 by adding Chapter 141, Administration and Enforcement, adding Councilmember Wansley as co-author and referring the matter to the Public Health and Safety Committee. Second, Councilmember Wansley moves to introduce pursuant to notice the subject matter of an ordinance amending the Administration Code, amending provisions regarding member attendance and reporting requirements, and referring the matter to the Committee of the Whole. Is there any discussion on these introductions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those matters will be referred to the appropriate committees as listed on the agenda. The next order of business is resolutions. Today, we have one honorary resolution recognizing February as Black History Month. Are there any questions or comments from council? May I have a motion to adopt these resolutions?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that resolution is adopted. The next order of business is a request for closed session. Before I recognize the attorney and we recess for closed session, I'll ask if there are any announcements from council members. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I just want to announce that tonight we'll have a police graduation at the Sabathani Community Center, and I want to thank the leadership of our recruitment division. They've really increased the amount of police recruits, and most importantly, it is a very, very diverse class of recruits. This ongoing recruitment effort for diversity is what we want to see. We've talked about this for years. It's in actuality happening. And I would encourage my colleagues to stop by Sabathani tonight at 6 o'clock. It gets a little lonely when I sit in these graduations events by myself. So, please come and sit with me and the chaplains. And again, I want to shout out the success of the leadership in that recruitment division. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Well, with that, we've completed all the items on our agenda, and we will now consider the request for a closed session, which is to receive a briefing on the litigation matter of Patricia Day versus City of Minneapolis et al. Before I move to close the meeting, I'll recognize the city attorney to provide the legal basis for the requested closed session.
Thank you, Council President. The next item on the agenda is the case, of Day versus Chauvin et al., U.S. District Court case number 24 CV 01862. Your lawyers wish to discuss with the council litigation strategy and or settlement possibilities. Accordingly, under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law, Minnesota Statute, Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, the council may, upon a proper motion, close the meeting for the purposes of attorney-client communication, as permitted by the attorney-client privilege. In considering the motion, the council should weigh the right of the public to know what its government is doing against the need of the city to preserve the confidentiality of its discussions with its lawyers.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. And before I make that motion, I see Councilmember Palmisano in queue.
Mr. Chair, I have a previous working relationship with Ms. Day, and I am not unbiased. Thus, I will be recusing myself from this matter entirely, and I won't be participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I am hoping to be recorded as an affirmative vote on item number 1 on the Public Health and Safety Committee.
Yes. Clerks, do you got that? Seeing no objections? Great. Thank you for that. And with that, I move to close our public meeting as authorized under the open meeting law, specifically Minnesota Statutes Section 13D.05, for the purpose of receiving a briefing on the litigation matter of Patricia Day versus City of Minneapolis et al. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitov.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins. Councilmember Palmisano.
Recusal.
Vice President Shabtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries. And for the viewing public, I will note that the broadcast of this meeting will continue and the council will reconvene in public after we've concluded the closed session. Colleagues, let's meet in closed session at 12 o'clock so people can get a little break. 1 minute. The time is now 12:43, and the City Council has reconvened in open session following our closed session. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to prove the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman is absent. Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison.
Here.
Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins is absent. Councilmember Palmisano is absent. Vice President Shugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 10 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. I will now recognize Councilmember Vita to make a motion.
Thank you, President Payne. I move that all claims, including claims for attorney's fees and costs asserted against the City of Minneapolis in Day versus Chauvin et al., United States District Court File Number 24CV-01862, be settled in the amount of $600,000, payable in 2 checks, one in the amount of $175,000 to Patricia Dawn Welch Day, and another in the amount of $425,000 to Robbins Kaplan LLP from Fund Org 069001500145400. The city attorney's office is authorized to execute any documents necessary to effectuate this settlement.
Councilmember Vita has moved a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 10 ayes.
That carries, and that motion is adopted. And that completes all items on the agenda. Seeing no further business to come before us, this meeting is adjourned.